Good evening, everyone. My name is Maazị Ezeoke. Today, on my Friday hangout under the State of the Nation series, I have a guest here in the studio with me virtually for a one on one conversation with him. I have the privilege to bring to you a global peace ambassador, a Nigerian American journalist, a former director of strategy and communication under President Goodluck Ebere Jonathan. Jackson Ude. Jackson, you're welcome to Njenje Media TV.
Thank you very much.
Let us quickly. We started late because we had some technical glitch. That's sorted out now, and here we are. Now, Jackson, quickly, if I may start by saying, the last time we were here with me, I think is about a year. No, during the COVID time that we had a conversation, right?
Yes.
It's been a long while. We'll probably implore you to endeavor to come to us as frequent as possible. Now, how are you doing, Jackson?
I'm doing very great. I'm doing fine.
Hmm. Okay, let me start with the current affairs in Nigeria. What is your take on the Tinubu government so far?
Well, so far I have never been a supporter of Ebola Tinubu because of his kind of politics. I don't have any hope and believe in this current government of his, and I don't think I will have any belief or hope if it remains. If the judiciary does not do what they're supposed to do, I will not have a hope. I will not have support. I will not have no trust. I will have no confidence. I will see it as another carryover of the Lagos era to the national politics.
Is that anything that you consider? Obviously, you just said a continuation of the Lagos era. Is there anything that happened in Lagos that you fear could happen under his government um, at the presidency?
Well, you can see it still happening. All the all the Lagos boys he used in looting Lagos State, and shutting down the media in Lagos, the Western media, so to say, are the same ones he has uprooted to the national politics. He cannot do other without these people. If you look at Wale Edun has been with him when he was Lagos State Governor.
Hmm.
Those are the ones who helped him looted the state, covered the shit for him. They are there with him now. He has nominated him now as a minister, awaiting clearance by the Senate. The folks like Dele Alake, a former journalist, because he's no longer a journalist, is there with him now and doing all the media padding for him and all the stuff. And the guys who were running the Tempo news magazine that were exposing everyone in Nigeria except Bola Tinubu are the ones now who is using to shut down the media. He used them while he was Lagos State Governor to shut down the Western press. He has brought them now to the national limelight. He's going to use them to shut down the press over there. I mean, the press there. So you can see that it's the same pattern, the same strategy. So the same thing you saw in Lagos State, where nobody, no journalist, no media house reported the looting that went on there and all the forgeries Bola Tinubu has been committing since 1999. Are the same people. He has gained a lot of confidence in them. He has seen them as allies. He has now taken them to the national politics to use them to do the same thing he did in Lagos State. So what we're going to see is it's a reincarnation of the Lagos politics under Tinubu at the national level, where his men from Lagos will now move to the national level, and now they now have a bigger cake to share. They will now share the Nigerian cake amongst themselves and their cronies. So that's what you're going to see. And for me, who has studied Bola Tinubu way back from the Nadeko era, I reported Nadeko as a young reporter at the time. I was about 18 years old, reporting for Majesty Weekly, a newspaper owned then by Baladan Abu, who used to be editor of Newswatch magazine. So I reported Nadeco. Bola Tinubu was just one of those leaders of Nadeco who were abroad. At the end of the military rule, when he came back home, he rode on the crest of being a Nadeco chieftain. Of course, it wasn't really like the head of the Nadeco. It was Ndubisi Kanu, the Ayo Adebanjo, the Abraham Adesanya. These are the people that we know as supporters. Bola Tinubu were just one of those who they use overseas to push the agenda of Nadeco and to help end military era. So he came back to Nigeria, after committing heroin fraud and fraud in the US. He now ran back here, doctored all those stuff. Unfortunately, at that time there was no internet, so we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure out that the man who just returned back to Nigeria to run for Lagos State governorship is a dubious character. Unfortunately, Afiku Yomi, who filled out his form, he didn't know what he was filling out. He first filled University of Chicago, and then I changed it. All of a sudden, it was not University of Chicago, or it was Chicago State University. That was where we had all this duplicity right from 1998, 1999 till date. We are still asking who is the man behind those goggles, those sunglasses, those hats. Who's the man behind those agbada? We don't know who he is. Is he Bola Tinubu or somebody else? What school did he attend? Who are his family members? What are his credentials?
Sometimes male, sometimes female.
So these are the many questions that makes critical minds like me not to want to trust anything from a man who you don't even know who he is. Whatever he does, whether he tries to paint Nigeria into gold, I will question that gold. So as far as I'm concerned, I have no trust in his government, and I believe that Nigeria is going to go into another era where the commonwealth of the people will be looted with impunity. The press will be emasculated. You won't be able to practice. It's going to become a situation where you rise against Bola Tinubu, you are taken on. So these are the things we are going to end up saying.
That's indeed a lot. Now, if we stay on the trajectory of the new government, and yesterday he just beat the 60 days by only 2 days to submit his ministerial post, and many people are basically submitting the ministerial names, and people are asking, did he take 60 days or 58 days plus 3 months of a president-elect, meaning 5 months basically, to come up with those names that were submitted yesterday? Do you have any hope in any way? Do you see any competent hand in those names that he has sent to the Senate?
You see, like I have said to you when we started, I have no iota of hope and trust for this government. That list you saw yesterday was a list of 28 persons Bola Tinubu is bent on compensating and also using them to prepare for a possible rerun. That list is the worst ministerial list in the history of Nigeria's democracy. Show me one person in that list who's a technocrat. Show me one person on that list who has a track record, like visible track record that you can actually say this one, yes. There's none. Everyone there is either a Bola Tinubu's lackey, either a political supporter of Bola Tinubu, or somebody who has helped him rig the election, somebody who has helped him do one or two things. Wike, what is Wike doing there? Wike is in that list because he helped Bola Tinubu fight other opponents and ensure that they rigged Rivers State for him. What is what's his name? El-Rufai doing there? El-Rufai is there because he helped rig Kaduna and helped him fight against Atiku Abubakar. What other big name do you have there? Every person you see on that list has had one or two things to do for Bola Tinubu. Either they have helped him forge his documents, or they have helped him to lie about his age, about his academic records. You know, what is Dele Alake doing there? These are the media men who are helping him run media propaganda. These are the people who are reaching out to newspaper editors and publishers to stay away from Bola Tinubu. You know, so everyone you see there is a contributor of the fraud called Bola Tinubu. You know, anyone you see on that list has contributed in one way or the other, you know, undermining Nigerian democracy by pushing a man who's been convicted for so many forgeries. You know, whether it's convicted in the public, in the court of public opinion, or in the court of the judiciary, he has been convicted for so many crimes. And everyone you see on that list is a lieutenant, is an apostle of the fraud called Bola Tinubu. Unfortunately, Nigerians are not seeing what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is an assemblage of crooks who are willing to do the bidding of Bola Tinubu. Look at the lady called what's her name? What's this lady's name again?
The lady from
From,
Delta, you mean?
from Delta State. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a lady who the Senate had already advised the president, the then President Buhari, to remove from office because she lied about her academics, lied about her qualification. The same lady found her way again into a Bola Tinubu's cabinet. Somebody who has questionable credentials. So what it means is that Bola Tinubu just goes around shopping for people with fraudulent credentials so that they can be like him. That is exactly what we are saying. The man from Niger, is a gift. That ministerial slot from Niger, the man representing Niger State, is the INEC chairman's lackey. In fact, that's one of the INEC chairman's men he used in doing dirty deals. Before and after the elections, Bola Tinubu has visited this same guy. The guy from Niger. Check his name well. That's the INEC chairman's person. You know, there's so many persons like that. You know, so many persons like that who are on that list. And to even show you how incompetent Bola Tinubu is, nearly 60 days, he's not able to name his 42 ministers. He's supposed to have 42 ministers.
42 or 36?
42, because he still have to have regional aside of the 36 representing the state, he still have to have a minister representing each region.
Okay.
So that's how it is. That's what makes it 42. So now he doesn't have his list. What he has done is that list itself is illegal, because under the law says give us a list of your ministers, and then it gives you 28 out of 42. That list should have been rejected if we had a very serious-minded lawmakers. But unfortunately, again, who do you have as the Senate president? Another crook. You know, so it's just the government itself. It's an assemblage of criminals who are just dancing around trying to bamboozle Nigerians to think that they're actually doing something. They're not doing anything. It's just another season for free for all.
You know, you mentioned at the beginning, and you talked about someone who belongs to your party, the PDP. And this is a man who had said this at one point.
Only one person can be a minister from a state. I will not be a minister. I will not. I will not.
Now, he once said that he was not going to be a minister. He has done a lot of damage to the PDP. Now he has become a minister in Buhari's Tinubu's government. What is your party going to do? Because that's an absurd situation that your party found itself now, that a member and a key member of your party is a minister in an opposition or in an enemy's camp. How do you think that will play out?
Well, I don't speak for the PDP. I'm sympathetic to the PDP. I don't speak for them. And I'm sure the PDP has a disciplinary mechanism to deal with activities as that of Nyesom Wike. Nyesom Wike has been a cancer in the PDP before and after the elections. And, you know, I have insider information about why he's this bitter. You know, Nyesom Wike wanted the VP at all costs. Okay, Nyesom Wike was not how will I put it now? Nyesom Wike wanted to be named the VP. That was not his choice in the first place. He was asked, and he said he wanted any position that he can use in taking care of his people, and that to the person who asked him meant that even a ministerial job, a ministerial position, he would take. So he didn't come forward to say he wanted a VP. But after the PDP primaries, he now was pushing for it. But then a lot of things have gone on. So they cannot just say because he came second and they now give him VP. When he said he just wanted a cabinet job or anything else to take care of himself, it meant to Atiku that was basically maybe he would take any position that comes up. And Atiku was willing to give him any position that comes up since he wasn't talking about being a VP. So the search for Atiku's VP continued. And then we ended up with
Okowa.
So after the primaries, he now felt that because he came second, and automatically the VPs should go to him. But no, the VP slot cannot go to him. And Atiku stood his ground and insisted on going ahead with whoever he had decided to pick. And that angered him. And then he now started trying to pull down the roof. So Wike is not a party person. Even if he moves to the APC, he's going to pull down APC. If it's not Wike's way, it is no way. And that's not how politics is played. And we cannot continue to condone men without principles. Men who will talk garrulously and act like a drunk that he is, in a party that's actually aiming to be formidable and to be able to, and to take over government. So I think that the question you asked me should be directed to the party official. I'm not a party official and I don't speak for the PDP. I think the party has a disciplinary mechanism to deal with irritants like Nyesom Wike.
You have been recently accused by the APC of posting unconfirmed news. Say, for example, there was a news that you posted that says that Wike insulted Tinubu after DSS refused to clear him and Ganduje as ministers. Obviously, both men are in the ministerial lists. You also broke a news of an intercepted phone conversation of the CJN, that is the Chief Justice, Chief Justice of Nigeria, asking Tinubu to prepare for a rerun. Your friend Femi Fani Kayode, if you permit me to use that word, that calling him your friend because that's what he said about you, responding to you in a manner I personally didn't expect him to, knowing him as someone, in his own words, with a very, very short fuse. Okay? So in his response here, I read, he says, I have respect for Jackson Ode, but I have to say that there is not one iota of truth in this report. It's nothing but pure, unadulterated, and premeditated fake news, and it's designed to create disaffection, coerce, and fear and panic. Reading this, that is my question to you now. Knowing FKK, the way he writes with so much venom, and he responded to you in this manner, is it that he knows something that you know, that might be an atom of truth in this, or that's what actually, because up to today I do not believe that FKK has the temperament to respond to you in that manner that I may consider very, very cautious. So can you review to us why you think FKK responded to you in that manner?
Well, I will say it this way. So Femi Fani Kayode is someone that I have known for a while now, and I may disagree in his kind of politics and the way he carries on, but I still give him some respect as an elder brother and somebody whom we share a lot of common friends with. When I was in the villa with Jonathan, he usually will come around and we share a lot of banters, a lot of ideas, and the rest. So I have no personal issues with Femi, and I'm sure he has no personal issues with me. Him and I respect ourselves. We have that very deep mutual respect. And before he made that tweet, he had sought my permission to do that. He had called me on my way, traveling down here, and then I was trying to clear immigration. So I saw a missed call from him. So I called him back. So he now said to me, "Oh, that the tweet I made about the conversation was not correct. He had just spoken with the DGDSS. The man is a good man who, when I ever meet him, I will know how good the person is. That he's not the kind of person who will engage in that kind of stuff." He said so many things. So I told him, I said, Egbon, because I call him Egbon. I said, Egbon, this is the source was not from Nigeria. And the source is foreign-based. Source is in the US. The source in the US government. And you cannot fault it simply because you spoke to the DG of DSS, who in any case will not tell you the truth. The fact is that there are several communications that have happened between Bola Tinubu and these persons I mentioned that have been intercepted unknowing to these persons. So the DGDSS may not even know that there are conversations that had been intercepted. So he will not tell you the truth. So he kept on saying, "Oh, that he knows the man will not engage in that and all that stuff." I said, okay, I didn't want to argue with him because I was on my way to try to pick up my bags and go to where I'm going. So, but in any case, anyone who doubts that should go and ask the CJN why he's not able to go to the United States, or why was his visa cancelled. So the US government canceled the visa of Kekere Ekun, and with a note to her that her visa ban was on the basis of her undermining democracy with her position as a judge. I think I have that document somewhere. So ask the CJN to show you similar thing that was given to him, where it was clearly stated that the decision, in fact, the transcript for one or two of those conversations that he had was attached to the decision for why he was visa banned. So let him show us those documents until. So I didn't want to keep digging onto this stuff because I know they are angry about it. That somebody actually had the balls to put it out there, or something annoying for them, which I have no regrets for. If I see anyone else, I will put it out there. So they're angry because that information was supposed to be a classified one, and even finding out they didn't know about it. But the US government know about it. They have it. And that's one of the reasons from which the CJN and two other justices of the Supreme Court were banned.
And even when that the communication has gone back and forth, the APC accusing you of dishing out unconfirmed report, you are still standing by what you said, that telephone conversation happened.
Yes, that's why I responded to them, because sometimes they have this tendency to want to disparage people or call people fake news peddlers, when in actual fact they are the one who are the next.
EU certified. EU
house,
certified.
They are housing EU certified fake news peddlers. So I am not a fake news peddler. When I made that tweet believing that my US government source would not mislead me. I had no reason to mislead me. So when I made the other tweet about Nyesom Wike angry and raining insult on Tinubu because the DSS were insisting they wouldn't clear him, that was actually happening. It happened. Up until 24 hours before this list was released, they were still battling to see, convincing to convince the DGDSL, who is bent on not approving on not clearing Wike, because Wike has a whole lot of issues. He has a whole lot of issues bordering on oil bunkering, bordering on financial crimes and all that. All those things are out. And now that he has no immunity, they wanted to actually hold him and deal with him. But because of the role he had played with Tinubu is insisting on the DG that they must clear him. And when I made that tweet, it was embarrassing. It will be embarrassing for them if at the end of the day he didn't show up on the list. It will be so humiliating. It will have humbled Tinubu. I mean,
Weaker.
So that's why they went and kept on piling pressure. Why didn't they have the complete list? You should be asking. Why didn't they have the complete 42-member ministerial nominee list? That's because there's so many. The same way he was busy doctoring his age, doctoring his credentials. That's the same way he's been doctoring the list. And Femi Gbajabiamila, his chief of staff, is busy lining his pocket, collecting money from different people to make that list. In fact, Femi's issues are another case that in fact his case is going to be worse, like 10 times worse than Abakari.
Wow. So you have a lot of information on Gbajabiamila.
His name is Gbajabiamila, but he chose to call himself Gbaja when he goes to the US because he committed fraud in Atlanta. In fact, his boys are still in Atlanta waiting for the cookies to get filled up so they could move down to Nigeria. Femi's case in Gbajabiamila is in the public domain. He stole his client $20,000 and ran to Nigeria to become a member of the House of Reps. The Georgia Supreme Court banned him from practicing law in the state of Georgia. He was in the House of Reps for many years before he now went back and made restitution and then appealed, and then they now started trying to reabsorb him. They just recently reabsorbed him back to practice law in the state of Georgia. So there's nothing good to talk about Femi. Femi has been a crook. He's still a crook, and he will continue to be a crook.
Okay, let's come back to, let's put, come down small, as they say in Nigerian pidgin parlance, small. Move slightly away from the local party politics. Let's go into the regional crisis that we've been experiencing in the last couple of days. You tweeted, and I quote, when is Buhari relocating to Niger Republic? Now that the corrupt and incompetent Mohamed Bazoum has been sacked as president of Niger Republic by the military. What do you think is happening in Niger? And why do you think that the coupists are not listening to the head of state of ECOWAS, who incidentally is the current occupier of the Nigerian presidency? Before you answer that question, let me play this clip for our listeners so that this will also fall in line to your answer.
Neighboring country of Niger, Mali, we've just seen now that the US there also have placed sanctions on some of the military officials. What does this all mean then for the ECOWAS region?
It's quite unstable right now, and unfortunately you have the chair currently, it's Nigeria, and the president of Nigeria, he's also facing a lot of pressure in his country in terms of how the election panned out in terms of the results. Some questioning the credibility of the elections. He issued a strong statement yesterday, but already when you read the reaction to that statement, people were already saying, you yourself, you are not legitimate. And therefore, this time around, ECOWAS is not as strong as the ECOWAS that we are used to. You'd recall when there were challenges in the region previously, they were quick to react and to respond. And there was that credibility because those who were speaking at that time, who were leading the regional body, had credibility. But right now, it's on a very shaky ground.
Now, it appears here that the instability in Nigeria is somewhat finding itself in the ECOWAS sub-region. By this report, if you piggyback to my question, what's your take?
You can see that what's happening now in Niger is just the people revolting against bad governance. They couldn't take what Bozono is offering them, and the military men decided to take the mantle of leadership. And now when they did that, Tinubu quickly issued a statement condemning it and threatening the coupists. Unfortunately, Tinubu has no credibility, like they rightly said, like the South African journalist rightly said. He's battling a credibility problem. That's why he can't. His statement or his warning cannot hold. So because it's not credible, because it doesn't have the the legitimacy, nobody wants to respect him. Tinubu cannot go to Niger now and say, hey, listen, you guys do this. You remember when Obasanjo was in government? Something similar happened in one of those African countries. And Obasanjo immediately moved in there, and the coupists were all running up. But Tinubu cannot do that because, one, it's illegitimate. Two, he has no credibility. And therefore, that affects even the statements he issued. Nobody wants to respect him. So who does he talk to? Can he call the coupists and speak to them? No, he can't. On what basis will he do that? A man who is still battling election fraud cases in the court, or a man whose credentials are all padded up? So there's no basis for him to be listened to, because nobody will trust him, nobody will believe him. They all see him as someone who has stolen an election. So this is, if the world see Tinubu in this manner, how much more those of us who are in Nigeria now, eulogizing him and trying to deodorize him, we'll just be making a fool of ourselves. So I feel so sorry for those supporters of Tinubu, because if the world reject Tinubu and then you inside you're accepting Tinubu, then something's wrong with you. So the issue, what is happening in the regional area now in Niger, as an example, is part of the issue that we are talking about in Nigeria. When the government is bad, the people revolt. The military will take over. It's akin to martial laws in the U.S. Martial laws in the U.S. when there's an issue somewhere, when there's bad governance, or maybe there's a crisis somewhere in any other state in the U.S., martial law will apply, and they can sack the democratically elected governor or whoever, and impose military people. That's what is playing out now in Niger Republic. I personally do not support military regime, but if that is what is going to clean up the African space of corruption, corrupt leaders, then let's try it. Let's clean ourselves up. Let's make sure that those who are coming in to lead us as democratically elected persons have the credentials and have the credibility. If they have the credentials and they have the credibility, we won't have any problem. The issue of bad governance, the issue of corruption will be at least put at the lowest level.
Well, I understand what you've said there, but I still want to find out from you. Now that we are where we are now, do you think that there are grave consequences or danger as it pertains to Nigeria? Let me give you an example. In the last couple of, not too long ago, there was a coup d'etat in Mali, and that coup eventually stood. Now we are closer home in Niger, and that coup, as it is now, when it started, the first day it appeared shaky, that it was an attempted coup. Now confirmed the coup. United Nations and the US are now sending envoys to say the coupists must stop. The former president, a video was released where he's kind of accusing the French of their currency. There was talks of looking towards Nigeria for their currency and even a greater bond. Before even now, that the former president also said that he was going to move to Niger when he goes out of office. Putting all this in mind, do you think that Nigeria is in a very serious place of copycat, or copycatism coming in, like in the case of 1960s, where there were coup d'etats in Ghana, and suddenly some young men woke up in Nigeria, January 1966, and said they are going to replicate the same thing that they saw happening elsewhere? Do we have a cause to worry in Nigeria?
Well, there's every reason to worry in Nigeria, because things don't seem to be going on well. I'm not advocating for a coup, but if it happens, and it happens that is the only thing that can salvage the country from heavily corrupt politicians, let's do it. Military regime is not something that I will subscribe to. I will only subscribe to it when it is aimed at resetting the country. You know, if we have to reset Nigeria, there are some persons who shouldn't even be close political powers anymore. But those things, but we cannot do that if we continue to just cut them a slack and allow them to continue the way they are running. If military regime is the only option available right now to cleanse Nigeria of certain elements that have so much looted, so be it. Let's go for it. I will support it. But right now, I think Nigeria is in a very, very dangerous position. And these signals coming from Mali, coming from Niger, should put every right-thinking politician in a position where they need to rethink their behaviors.
Okay, before we round up, I mean, you've highlighted the danger that it will portend for us in Nigeria. Your party, the PDP, is in court now, and they've made an excellent submission in terms of the written argument that they posited. And what is the likely outcome? Now, you, not as a spokesperson of the party or anything, but you, from your analysis so far, having read all the submissions by the Labour Party and your party as well, what is your projected outcome? What do you think would happen in the next couple of days, knowing that next week the parties will have to come together in Abuja for them to take the to read the written statement or agree on it, and before the appeal court gives a date for judgment? But can we look into the future and say this is the likely outcome of the presidential election tribunal sitting in Abuja?
Well, let me give you my own take. Having been following this case from the beginning, and having also been following the movement of politicians before the elections. Okay. So, Bola Tinubu has infiltrated the judiciary. Very much so. And we took him for granted that he had also infiltrated INEC before the elections. This I had known, and I actually had maybe tweeted about it sometime before the elections, when his man Friday, Senator Abu Ibrahim, was housing some persons at the Hilton who were doing some work for them on INEC. And then I also had tweeted sometime before the elections that Bola Tinubu had a secret meeting inside a car in Maitama in front of a house of one of his friends. I mentioned that before. I raised the alarm before that he was meeting this guy. He met him twice in that same location as at June last year. This was before the elections. So we took him for granted. We thought it was just a regular maybe stuff. And then at the end of the day, it boiled down to the fact that he had done a deal with Mahmoud Yakubu, who helped him win the elections. The same strategy he used in penetrating INEC, the same strategy he has used to penetrate the judiciary, for which the CJN is a buddy of him, a very good friend of his. They talk. Now, they don't talk. They don't call themselves normally now. They speak through the phones of some trusted aides. That's how they communicate now. They don't communicate through their personal phones anymore because they know that there are some interested parties. So now they use the phones of their trusted aide to talk to themselves, and they meet in coded areas. So that's what I said in that tweet, that I challenge them to submit their phone records and that of their aides, and you will see conversations, and they've been meeting. So what they have done so far, is that he has put the judiciary in a way that they will not, it will be hard for them to actually disqualify Tinubu, who is qualified to be disqualified. Tinubu is qualified to be outrightly disqualified for lying under oath, for doctoring his academics, for doctoring his age, for all the shady stuff he had done to himself. He's eminently qualified to be disqualified by the judiciary. This is the extreme case. But because they've all eaten from him, and they are still eating from him, and they have been promised certain stuff by him, they may not disqualify him. I see the appeal court disqualifying him or canceling the election and asking for a rerun. By the time it gets to the Supreme Court, I see the Supreme Court setting aside all those criminalities he had committed with his document and the stuff and hold him on to 25% and then ask him for a rerun. These are the things that I'm seeing from my own understanding of all the midnight meetings, midnight conversations, all the moving around of politicians here and there. I am not seeing a Bola Tinubu outrightly being disqualified. I see a Bola Tinubu who the Supreme Court will cut his slack. They will turn a blind eye to his forfeiture. They might turn a blind eye to his to the discrepancies in his degrees. They might turn a blind eye to his age. They might turn a blind eye to the fact that he had once filled an INEC form where he said he did NYSC in 1999, and in 2003 he's exempt. So they might turn a blind eye to all these illegalities and all these forgeries and perjuries, and now say to him, you know what? You did not win FCT. You did not get 25% there. We are now going to nullify the election and ask for a rerun. These are the scenarios that I'm seeing. I'm not saying these are the scenarios that I'm seeing from all my own action around and snooping around here and there. I don't see, although some people say the judiciary will throw away the case. I said, okay, no, the judiciary is under immense pressure locally and internationally, and they are feeling the pulse of the nation. Some of the exposés some of us have done are putting them in a very terrible situation where it will be hard for them to turn a blind eye to all these illegalities and stamp a stamp of a stamp of legality on the election that brought Tinubu. It will be highly difficult. So the worst case scenario will be a rerun, and the rerun will be on the basis that he didn't make 25%. That is what I see the court doing.
So, in summary, you are saying that you foresee a situation where the judiciary gives him a soft landing.
Yes, it's going to be a soft landing for him because, like I said, he has penetrated them so much that they've collected so much money from him in the past, and even now they're still collecting. And again, you can see him giving dashing 37 billion naira to the judiciary, as if there was an earthquake in the Supreme Court or any of the courts in Nigeria. He said he wants to give you guys palliative, so he's now collecting after telling us that, oh, I shut down the subsidy, no more subsidy. After shutting down subsidy, he comes out to tell you, oh, we have saved 400 billion from the subsidy we shut down. And then 2 weeks after, he now tells you, I'm going to go borrow 800 billion so I could fund some critical area. So critical area now turns out to 70 billion to the National Assembly, right? 37 billion to the NJC. Guess who is the head of NJC? The Supreme Court, the CJN, Chief Justice of Nigeria, is the head of NJC. So what he's simply doing is giving them 37 billion naira legal bribe. The money is legal, right? It's going to be loaned out. It's going to be collected as loaned, approved by the National Assembly, and then he give them 37 billion. What would they be doing with 37 billion? Are they building new courts? Are they changing all their furnitures and all the stuff they
Well,
have?
they'll buy new cars as usual.
They don't have old
Is
cars.
expected.
They have usable cars that are still functional. So even if they're going to buy cars, so 37 billion is for the cars. So what is that for? That is bribe. So it's another way of bribing the NJC to say, hey, listen, I'm taking care of you guys. I've approved more money for you. He should have approved 37. Let him give that money to the Nigerian Union of Teachers. Okay? These are critical areas. Let him give those money to universities to equip their libraries, and build technological centers. These are the things we need. The NJC doesn't need that amount of money, but because there's an interest somewhere, he needs to protect himself by giving that money to show them that he's loyal. That listen, after this tribunal, I'm coming back to taking care of you guys. That's basically what he's doing. So I don't see the judiciary throwing away Bola Tinubu, like disqualifying him. If
Okay.
I was a judge, with all the whole criminalities I've seen, with all the whole padding and forgery I've seen, Bola Tinubu is qualified to be, disqualified and put in jail.
Mm. You've aptly put it that this is what you expect. But do you, in your expectations, see where the Nigerian masses could be if their expectations are not met by the judiciary? Do you foresee a sudden eruption of conflict here and there? Obviously, Nigeria is sitting on a cake of gunpowder with a lot of things: energy bills, unity school, university school fees, that is the federal universities, petrol selling over 620. So everyone is hurting. So do you think that the judicial decision or the decision of the judiciary could actually cause Nigerians to kind of erupt finally?
It's very possible, and I'm sure they too understand this, and that's why I said it will be like, okay, we're not going to disqualify you, but we're not going to keep this election. We're going to have a rerun. So that way, they be seen to have, not supported Bola Tinubu, and also not supported anyone, but to have tried to manage it in a way that Nigerians will be satisfied that we are going to under a re-election, another rerun. So they know that any judgment that does not seem to be of the interest of the Nigerian people, there's tendency that the people will go to the streets and it might snowball into something very dangerous. And this is what I think might happen. And this is what I think the lawyers and the judges and the justices have also seen based on what people are putting out there. There's likely going to be a crisis that might erupt that the government will not be able to handle if justice is not seen to have been done in this last fraudulent elections.
Now, if on the unlikely occasion that there is a re-election, do you think with what Nigerians have seen, you on the Twitter street, you hear parlance like renewed shege. So the shege that Nigerians have seen in the last couple of months, do you think with that they would come anywhere close to winning that possible rerun if it comes to that?
See, Bola Tinubu did not win this election in the first place. Bola Tinubu will have come a very distant third position. So Bola Tinubu himself knows that in an event of a rerun election, it doesn't stand a chance because one, Buhari is no longer there. those elements around Buhari that helped him are no longer there.
But he has his men now.
One man, this man, one man, the one he just appointed now.
Yes, he has his security. I mean, he has all the security chiefs appointed by him.
Okay.
Everyone, basically,
Okay.
every one of them.
Okay.
DSS is loyal to him.
Okay.
And he has all these 28 campaign managers, I call them, that he's just appointed. So
that's not going to be enough for him.
Okay.
It's not going to be enough for him because these persons are basically new in the job. They don't understand all the intricacies very well. They're not entrenched very much. If Bola Tinubu is kicked out to go face a rerun, he doesn't have the solid support and solid institutional government support. INEC is facing a credibility problem. The INEC chairman is sneaking in and out of office because his life is in danger. He's feeling under threat. In fact, he goes home now. Before he gets home, they will help him. The DSS will go and snoop around his house, make sure they comb every area to be sure there's no bomb or something. He goes to the office 1 hour before he gets there. That same thing is done. They check around his office to be sure that there's nothing in there. There's no deadly weapons or stuff around his office. So he's not a free man. And he's not a free man because of what he had done. So you can imagine there's a rerun and he has to superintend that rerun. The man will just say, you know what? Go ahead and do the election the way it is. The result will be announced the way it is. Because he doesn't, I don't think a normal human being will be enjoying the kind of suffering he's undergoing right now, trying to live a life where he's hiding, he's perpetually hiding. If there are no policemen around him, he can't walk around the streets. So under a rerun, Bola Tinubu will not win the election. Yes, he has men around, but when they sack him, those men will be removed, and some of those men will be removed, and they may not have that kind of power. Akpabio will come in and sit as an acting president because by virtue of the constitution, he's the number 3 person. So when the president and the VP goes, he takes over. But Akpabio does not understand national politics and may not be able to galvanize the kind of vote that a Tinubu will need to win the election. And mind you, the North are already getting upset because they thought that the Tinubu's government is a continuation of a Buhari's government where they have all their men around in strategic position. Unfortunately, the man came in, he had taken away some key, juicy positions that they not always keep for themselves. He has taken it away from them. They're not happy. So under a rerun situation, a Bola Tinubu will not find it easy. In fact, he's not going to win the rerun. And he knows it. That's why he's in a hurry to appoint ministers. He's in a hurry to fill out different positions and all that, so he can build enough support base. But enough will not be enough for him because Nigerians are already seeing his hand and they know where he's heading. And with all these forgeries and all that will still be trailing him anyway, even if the court decide to turn a blind eye to that. All these forgeries that are committed will still trail him. And Nigerians will say, you know what? Look at the embarrassment we're suffering. The U.S. is not, let me tell you, the U.S. government is not trying to do a handshake with Tinubu. They are only waiting for the judiciary to shoot themselves on the foot again and then stamp on authority, or stamp a legal authority or legal approval on Tinubu's election. If they do that, you will see them, the U.S. will start withdrawing all their financial aid support to Nigeria. They'll be tactically taking it out so many stuff. In fact, Tinubu will never near the White House until he finishes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jackson. That's I thought that's indeed a very nice postulation there. Finally, before I let you go, do you think that the oppositions, if on the event of a rerun, that the oppositions may come together and do better than they did in the last election, February?
If there's a if there's a rerun, and that rerun is narrowed down to Atiku and Tinubu, I see an alignment of forces between the PDP and the Labour Party for the purpose of coming up with a unity government that will ensure a landslide. You know, I see the PDP and Labour Party forming a government, you know, which will also help and help the country regain the kind of confidence that is lacking right now. The fusion of the ideology of the Labour and that of the PDP has a capacity to at least create that semblance of a government that people will want, at least for now, until we get it right. You know, it's not like Labour Party is the best party or PDP is the best party, but the fusion of both parties can give Nigeria that semblance of good governance and good kind of leadership that they are looking for. So that has a capacity to create a very good victory for both parties. Good victory, good governance, good policy, and good acceptance by the Nigerian people.
Yeah, but that's only one angle you've looked at. You said
yes.
You said if it is between APC and PDP. What if it is an outright cancellation, which by the submissions of all the opposition parties, it appears it's outright cancellation. This election is fraud. The processes are not right. You know, without speaking it, can we redo this election? So what if it comes to that? What then happens? What's your take?
If it is an outright cancellation, it means that the three major parties will still go to the field. I don't know if
without any form of understanding of how they could come together to defeat a monster.
Well, they might have an understanding. I don't know if PDP will want to withdraw from the race, or if Labour Party will want to withdraw from the race. If none of these parties are willing to withdraw from the race, it means that we will still go back on the field. But what I foresee is that the judges, the court would have ruled that INEC must follow its own guidelines by ensuring the transmission of results from the polling units. If that is part of the ruling of the court, it means that a Tinubu will find it difficult to rig the elections, because how they rigged the election was that they switched off the electronic transmission system, where you cannot transmit the result to anywhere. So you are now left by either them going to forge the results, pad them up, change figures and all that. So, but if the court, as its ruling says, we're going to cancel this election outrightly, go run elections fresh, INEC, you must follow your guidelines. Make sure you upload results from the polling unit, so that Nigerians will trust the process again. If that is part of the ruling, it means that it will be difficult for Tinubu to rig the election. Tinubu rigged the election because they shut down, they connive with Globe Mobile to shut down the INEC election transmission system.
Yeah, but there is, sorry, but I think the shutting down is beyond Globe Mobile, because when you use the internet, it is only in, the shutting down would only happen at the back end, that when Beavers comes in to send this particular result, it stops. But on the general of having internet, which Glow was the services that they used, right? You see that two of those went through, Senate and the House of Assembly, using the same Glow network.
Yeah.
So is it then fair at this point to accuse Glow rather than who are those individuals behind the scene at the back office?
Well, Glow was part of those contracted in this process. I don't know what specific role they played, but INEC contracted Glow. And you can also see that at the end of the elections, Bola Tinubu went to say, hello, thank you to the Glow man, to the owner of the Glow. So I, as somebody who don't just look at things from the face value, I saw that as, okay, with another way of saying, okay, the same way he went and had a handshake with the INEC man in secret after the election, and also now went and visited the current ministerial nominee for Niger State, who the INEC man says, that is my man, give him a ministerial job. You know, it's the same pattern. You know, so some of them do all these things. They think that Nigerians will not know. Me, I mean, for the thing about me is that I worked at that level of government. And when I left the government, I was a very nice person to a lot of security people who, up to date, are still my friends. When I call them and they ask them, they will tell me. But I will never reveal who they are. They are still in Aso Rock right now. Some of them are still in the villa. Some of them are still in DSS office. Some of them are still in several places. So if I want any information, I just call. I still have political friends. Some of my friends are in APC. Although, Faneka Ode may not tell me what I want to hear. Yeah, sometimes he will tell me, okay, but keep it to yourself. But, you know, there are certain things I can't keep to myself, especially if it impugns on the Nigerian people's ability to enjoy good governance. I will not keep it to myself. I will take it out there so that the people see the kind of people we have. So basically, we're in a system where now we do not know how those will pan out, but however it pans out, Nigerians should be ready to take back their own country.
Now, there is a question for you before I let you go, and that is from the audience. The question reads that if, on the event that the election is outrightly cancelled, would PDP be ready to right the wrongs that made the people of Southeast vote against them in this election?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
The question is, I say again, if the election is cancelled outrightly, is the PDP ready to right the wrongs regarding to right the wrongs against the Southeast with the 2023 rerun election?
See, from my personal conversations and interaction with Atiku Abubakar, Atiku has always, he's an ambitious politician, and that's his right. Everyone should have the right to be ambitious to run an election. You know, although some people think that, oh, he shouldn't have run, he should have supported Obi, but you know that would be denying him his own right to aspire. So, in my interaction with him, he has always wanted a situation whereby if he wins, he will like. Well, in fact, let me give you this. I was with him in his house in Dubai when we started discussing the idea of a VP. I mooted the idea of an Igbo VP for him, which he bought it. In fact, Obi was the person he was trying to pick as VP, but he said he wanted to make sure he carried everybody along, unlike in 2019 when he picked Obi and the likes of Wike were angry and the rest of them were angry and they worked against him. See, this time around, he's going to make sure that they all buy into that idea of Obi with him. So Obi was supposed to be running with him as a VP. And the plan he had was, once he runs, he was considering running a single term. I mean, a single 4 years, and then handing over to Obi or whatever he decided to run. But the plan was for him to hand over to Obi, for Obi to continue. But he wanted to help Obi stabilize, to understand the national politics. This was the opinion he expressed. And then make sure that when he's leaving, he gives it to him. Atiku has always wanted a politics that is fair to all, especially the Southeast, which he feels have not been fairly treated, by his own opinion. And so that's why you always see him anytime he's running. He ran with Ben Obi the last time. He ran with this other guy, one other guy. and then this time with Obi, and then now because of what had happened, he now ran with Okowa, who's also an Igbo, but from the other side of Igbo speaking part of Nigeria. So I think the PDP will ultimately, whether now or in the future, do restitution in the Southeast. They will do that, except I'm no longer sympathetic to them, except maybe I decide to go and pitch my tent with the Labour Party, which is most likely if maybe, I mean, yesterday I was talking to my friend.
You're welcome already.
Yes, I mean, it's possible. I have a lot of friends in the Labour Party. Dr. Doyo Gugbe and I were in the villa together. We're in the same office. You know, I have a lot of friends. Osoloko Baze is my friend. We spoke yesterday. In fact, he was thanking me for all the things I have done. So I have my heart. I have my heart in Labour Party, and I love Labour Party for what it stands for. But unfortunately, I have my head in PDP, which is where I have been all this while. So I will always push to ensure that the Southeast get their own share of politics and good governance, and which I think me and the former Aviation Minister from Anambra,
Stella Odua.
No, Osita Chidoka.
Yeah.
We had this conversation in Washington DC, and we agreed that the Southeast must benefit a lot under any arrangement from the PDP, you know, and that is an agenda that I'm also pushing for, you know, if that works out.
While you're on that agenda, think deeper into an arrangement in the case of outright cancellation, honestly, because like you rightly pointed out, at some point restitution must occur. You recall that there is one thing that actually ailed the Southeast. You know the concept of Eba boy, that they consider that they have served the PDP for 24 years, yet no time to be settled. Now, you talked about your principal article. You mentioned that he had in mind of running with Peter Obi, but hey, we are all in Nigeria and we understand this notion and ill that a Fulani man did 8 years from the northwest. Then another Fulani man is going to come from the northeast to do probably another 4 or 8 years. Now, breaking that concept of power rotating between the north and the south. Isn't that something that many of you in the PDP didn't have that great feeling to actually speak up and say, no, this isn't right? If after 8 years of a northern president, and why don't we, obviously, if we really want power, to do justice in that manner? Is that something that some of you meted out to him?
You know, personally, I will tell you, this is my own personal opinion about this idea of regionalizing a president. I don't actually believe that it has the capacity to solve the enormous problem Nigeria has, and so I've not been able to convince myself that it must be the turn of the Hausa, or it must be the turn of the Igbo, or it must be the turn of, I'm just looking at somebody that I feel has the capacity to bring the country together and govern and ensure that the Nigerian people enjoy what good governance means. I don't want to see tribe. I don't want to see religion. I don't want to see ethnicity and all that. It's just that the way Nigeria is skewed now, everybody feels, oh, if my Yoruba brother is there, I'm comfortable. But how much does that put food on your? How does that put food on the table for you? Is there a special filling station where the Yorubas will go and buy fuel when a Yoruba person is present? No. Is there a special market where the Yorubas go and shop that they buy food cheaper? No. But the point is that when we continue to regionalize the presidency and make it look like if it comes from our own part, it means we are good. It means that we are putting the cart before the horse. We are putting good governance behind.
No, I don't. Sorry, but there is another.
Like I said, this is my personal opinion.
Okay.
A lot of people have advanced this opinion to say, oh, well, the Igbos need to. I believe that yes, an Igbo man should be able to run for president. He should not be running for president on the basis that it is the Igbo man's turn. He should run on the basis that he has a capacity to run the country. Not on the basis that, oh, it's the Igbo man's turn, let me go and run. No. Or it's the Yoruba man's turn, let me go and run. No. Let every Nigerian run for the presidency on the basis that they have the capacity to fix the country and to bring everyone united. That is what I'm advocating for. But if an Igbo man that I see that is qualified enough to run the country, aspires to run for the country, I will support the person. If an Hausa man is running and I know that the person has the capacity, I will support the person. But I don't want us to reduce the act of governance on the basis of where we are from. In the United States, nobody knows where people come from. If you are a black, you can aspire. If you are a Latino, you can aspire. If you are Caucasian, you can aspire. And they vote on that level of competence, not because someone is a Caucasian or Hispanic or black, but on the basis that they believe that this person can deliver. So this is the line of thought I love to dwell on.
Jackson, thank you very much. I must appreciate your time. Honestly, I do appreciate your time for joining me. This is a very fine place to anchor this evening's broadcast with you, conversation with you. And, I enjoyed every bit of our conversation. Once more, this is the State of the Nation series, a one-on-one conversation with Jackson Ude. Jackson Ude is a global peace ambassador, a Nigerian-American journalist, former director of strategy communication under President Ebere Goodluck Jonathan. Jackson, once more, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And have a good evening.
La 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 la.